Hello, CEP 200 students, and welcome to Unit 5 of the course. I hope that all of you are adjusting well to all of the new things that kind of have come about with the coronavirus and the university moving solely to kind of an online platform. I know that this is probably a really difficult adjustment. We all have different learning styles, and I know that a lot of you were enrolled this course originally, and luckily we didn't have to change too much just because we were originally an online course. But that doesn't mean that you might not have been enrolled in some classes that were in person and that you were really benefiting from sitting in a lecture on. So if there is anything that you guys are finding difficult about this course and kind of adjusting just overall with all of your other courses and whatnot, please feel free to reach out to me if there's anything that I can be doing to make this a smoother transition for you. So with that being said, we just completed Unit 4. As I had mentioned in my previous unit video, Unit 4 is my absolute favorite unit that we go through in this course. Primarily because of the adverse childhood experiences study and everything that we talk about in that unit related to child and adolescent counselors, as well as marriage and family and couples counseling. So I know that in other courses that I have taught with CEP 200, students have really liked this unit. So I hope that I get a lot of good feedback again from you guys this semester based on this unit. We, as of yesterday, are transitioning into Unit 5. So within this unit, we are going to talk about expressive arts counselors, which are basically art therapists, and organizational counselors as well as pastoral counselors. So something that I hear a lot of feedback from regarding this unit is that students aren't as familiar with the organizational counselors or the pastoral counselors. So organizational counselors, typically work for big organizations, and they are almost seen as part of the HR team. So that's human resources. The reason why they are often viewed that way is because they typically take a look at the employment rate, the turnover rate, different problems that employees are having, and they try to work with the organization to figure out some kind of way for the organization to make changes so that they have more success. So they basically just look at the behavior and those types of things that are happening with employees within the organization to figure out how they can assist the organization in being more successful. And pastoral counselors are pretty self-explanatory. They are essentially a counselor geared more towards religion. So individuals who practice or identify with certain religious groups might seek out, a Christian counselor or something of that nature that kind of identifies with the religion and can tie the religion into the different elements of counseling. So those are pretty straightforward, but I do hear a lot of students tell me that these are the two types of counseling that they weren't as familiar with. I apologize about my dog barking. With that being said, from this point forward, the rest of the semester is pretty smooth sailing. So we're in Unit 5. We only have 6 units and a conclusion unit. So in Unit 6, we will be wrapping up with more of like the college and the school counseling, and then the conclusion is simply the cumulative assignment as well as the interview of a professional paper. Although, as I had mentioned, we transitioned over to more of like a research-based paper as opposed to expecting you to go out and interview professionals with the climate that, we have in society right now and everyone's health and the COVID virus and everything. So I have had students reach out to me and tell me that they are still doing the interview, but they are doing it virtually, which I think is really awesome. So if that is something that you are doing, please reach out to me and I can give you the original outline for the assignment with all of the prompts for the actual interview. So let's take a look here. I think I covered pretty much everything. I know that this is brief, but I do know that a lot of people are adjusting back to the online platform with all of their other classes, so I don't want to consume too much of your time with this. So in Unit 4, you should have handed in the Unit 4 assignment as well as the discussion board number 4. I do want to say that generally, as we've been going on in the semester, I do have the grading for the previous unit done by the time that the new unit is due. This unit, I did not have the opportunity to do that. I have picked away at some grading. It looked like everyone did a really good job on quiz 2, and I have been chipping away at the discussion boards and the unit assignments. And I do want to say that as an essential employee at my full-time job, I have been working a lot and just making sure that I'm supporting the employees that are within my organization and making sure that they have everything they have, or that they need rather, as well as the individuals that we serve. So being quarantined has really kind of thrown a wrench in their routine, and they need additional resources available to them and everything. So I have been working quite a bit. I have not been able to quarantine. I've been out and about and doing work. So that has really put a damper on a lot of time that I have available to grade. So I am very sorry that this has kind of bled over into our course and that I have not been able to grade all assignments as I usually do, but I promise they will be graded soon. So I appreciate your patience, and I know that this transition is really difficult for a lot of us. So for this upcoming unit, as of yesterday or today, well, as of today actually, because your materials were due last night for the previous unit. So as of today, we are in Unit 5. And I had mentioned what kind of counselors you're gonna go through and you're gonna learn about. But as far as the assignments, here you are only responsible for completing a unit assignment and quiz number 3. So as I had promised, the workloads are getting a little bit lighter as we progress through the course. I know that the resource list might have been difficult for some people if you're not familiar with using search engines, and it can be really difficult to search for a counseling professional such as like an organizational counselor who we hadn't even gone over yet. So I'm giving a lot of leeway with the resource assignments just because they're just because there has been a lot of transition, there has been a lot of confusion and that kind of thing. So I'm really trying to make this as easy as possible for everyone. So far from the resource lists I've gone through, they seem to look really, really good. So good job on that, and thank you for taking the time to complete those, even though everything's kind of a mess right now. So as we wrap up looking beyond Unit 5, the next unit, you only have a discussion board. So I will probably talk about this a little bit in Unit 6, but once you finish your materials for Unit 5, which is the Unit 5 assignment and Quiz 3, I would recommend getting a head start on your paper of a professional that you have interest in, just because you're kind of getting ahead of the game and you're giving yourself a little bit more time to really do research. What I do want to mention regarding the final paper, so whether you're doing the interview of a professional paper or you're doing the interest, whichever counseling professional you have interest in, please make sure, as I had mentioned in the beginning of the semester, that you are staying away from social work. So unfortunately, we don't talk about social workers in this class. So you do have the opportunity as a social worker to have the credentials to practice private counseling and that kind of thing, but we do not talk about them in this course. So you want to make sure you are not interviewing or looking up a licensed master social worker or a licensed clinical social worker. But other than that, I think that is everything that I have to talk about. So if you need anything, please feel free to reach out to me. Even if you need extensions, I'm really, really open to giving extensions as long as we have a conversation about it first, and that you get it approved. So if you need anything at all, again, please feel free to reach out to me. Okay? All right, stay healthy.